Merry Christmas, friends, and welcome back to the Mothership. For this Christmas, we are smoking up our very own brisket, but not just any brisket. We are going with a bison brisket. Let's get started. And here we go. This is our bison brisket. This is about 4.5 pounds. I got this one from Buck Wild Bison online. There's a couple other companies you can use, but this is what we're going to be cooking. And as you can tell, 4.5 pounds, that's fairly small. But from what I can tell, the brisket section of a bison is much smaller than a cow. Right off the bat, what I can tell is there's not much fat on this sucker. There's a decent amount of intermuscular fat, which hopefully it's going to be really good. But as far as fat cap, we're looking at a much smaller cut of fat than we would usually. Now, I'm going to just take off a little bit here. There's not a ton. Maybe a little bit of this hard fat right here will come off. It's about almost a ½ inch, so I'm going to take it down just a little bit. So, can't really tell what's the fat cap side. I'm going to guess this is the fat cap side. Oh, no, this would be the fat cap side. So this is our lean side. A little bit of silver skin on here, but I'm actually not going to take off much of this. Maybe a little bit of trimming off this section over here. Unfortunately, there's a nice divot there, which means we will get some pooling. But for the fat cap side, that's pretty small. This seems also pretty small. I don't think I'm going to have much issue with this silver skin. I think I could probably pull it off a bit if I really want to here. And we'll get some of this coming off. Now I don't want to go too much further here. I think if I keep trying to pull off more of the silver skin, I'm just going to start to break apart the muscle fibers, which is what I don't want to do. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to apply my salt and move forward with giving it my rub. Obviously there's not enough fat here for me to make some delicious tallow that I'm going to use in my wrap, so I'm probably going to have to supplement with some beef tallow. But 4.5 pounds, going with the kosher salt. In this case, that'll probably be somewhere around 3 teaspoons. So I'm just going to coat it all over like usual, and we're going to put it into the fridge on a wire rack until the salt is fully absorbed, and then we'll move forward with getting our garlic and our black pepper. So get it covered up with more emphasis obviously on the meat side, but in this case they're pretty similar, so we're just going to do about half on each side and flip her over. Obviously going to get some salt on the sides. Now looking at this cut, if I wanted to trim really aggressively, I probably would cut this down a little bit. It's pretty thin on the side, but there's not a ton of meat here, and it's not the cheapest cut, so I'm going to just cook it and see what happens. Any pieces that are a little bit too dry or that kind of just get cooked out, I can always save them and use them, to braise in some liquid, use them for tacos, that kind of thing. So I'm just going to cook these as is, and we'll see what comes out on the other side. I've never cooked a bison brisket before, so I'm obviously very excited to see how this tastes. And I think it's going to be pretty darn good. Okay, nice and salted down. Now I'm just going to throw it onto a wire rack, like I said, and put it into the fridge, and we'll come back with getting the rest of our rub on. And just like that, all of our salt has been absorbed, so it's time to get the rest of our rub on here. I am just going to use coarse black pepper. And garlic powder. I go heavy-handed on the garlic powder, guys, because I really like garlic. Then give it a nice flippy over, and repeat the same thing on the meat side. And then obviously, guys, we gotta get the sides here. Now this little cut of meat is gonna go back into the fridge, and I'm gonna leave it there until tomorrow morning. For this 4.5 pounder, I'm kind of expecting to smoke it somewhere between, I don't know, 7 to 10, maybe 12 hours. So I'm gonna start this about 4 a.m. That'll give me enough time to let it smoke all the way through and get a nice rest on there. So about 4 a.m., I'll see you guys. We'll throw this onto the smoker. But for now, this is just going to go into the fridge and kind of just let everything relax, come back together, and get ready for a good smoke. We are now 4 hours into this cook. I've been running at 180 since the wee hours of the morning. Everything is starting to look nice. We're hitting about 135 over here and about 115 over here. At this point, I'm going to bump the temperature up because we're never going to cook this thing to completion at 180. So I'm going to bump it up to 225, and then I'm going to begin spritzing the exterior when it starts to look dry with a mixture of apple cider, hard apple cider that is, and a light beer. Using my instant read here, we are probing around 155 to 170. I don't think that's right, I went too far. Yeah, about 175, which means it is time to wrap this. So I'm going to take it off, we're going to get it wrapped, and then we're going to throw it back on. But let's get this off and get it into some paper. Okay, here is our bison brisket. As you can see, our bark is set. It's smelling really, really good. I've taken it, put some tallow down. This is a pretty lean cut of meat, so I want to get a little bit extra fat in there. If you don't have tallow, butter's going to work. If you have brisket trimmings, you can use that to make your own tallow. All of that works, but basically get it onto the peach paper, and I'm just going to wrap her up, bump the temperature up to 250, and then put it back on until we probe tender. Standard brisket. Let's do this. Perfect. Now back onto the smoker we go at 250 degrees. Just about 10 hours into this cook, and I think we are ready to pull, guys. Everything is probing nice and smooth. Temperature I'm looking at on the point side is about 197. On the flat side, also very smooth. Temperature here is just over 200. So I think I'm going to pull these. We'll get them into a cooler and let them rest. Now to rest this brisket, I'm going with the tried and true method. I just took it off of the smoker. I'm not going to take it out of the peach paper. What I'm going to do is just wrap it up in a crappy towel. Then I have a roto cooler here, which I have been running hot water through it so it's nice and pre-warmed. I'm just going to take our brisket and toss it in. Now this should hold for probably up to 12 hours if I wanted to, but right now I think we're looking at maybe 6 hours before we eat, so it's going to get a nice 6-hour rest. Brisket's going to keep doing its thing. This is perfect for brisket. Hopefully it's the right call for a bison brisket. But I am very excited to cut this open and give it a try. It's going to be a couple of seconds for you guys and a couple hours for me, but let's see how we did. It is now time to cut into this brisket. Oh boy. Here's our point side. Here is our flat. It's very dense. Very interested to see how this turns out. But cutting against the grain would be like so. And then cutting the point. It is a denser meat for sure, but there's a nice rendered fat in there. Looks really good. Alrighty guys, after about a 10-hour cook and a nice 6-hour rest, this is ready to go. This is gonna be our Christmas meal tonight. Everything smells absolutely incredible. My first thoughts are after I cut this looks so dense. This meat right here, I mean, this is the point side. I just look at how much is going on there. There's definitely some fat in there. Everything has been rendered really well. I'm really excited to try this. But before we get the old chomp, guys, I gotta say one thing. I am super thankful for all of you. This has been a really fun year for me, starting a new channel. Hope to do much more next year. And you know what, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Before I get super sappy, let's give it the old chomp. I figure I'll start with my favorite piece of barbecue, which is a piece of the point. You know, it's exactly like I thought it was going to be. This is so dense, guys. Now, these briskets are very small. Obviously, with a beef brisket, you can get anywhere from like a 10-pounder to like a 25-pounder. This is about middle of the range for this company that was selling bison briskets. I think some get a little bit bigger, up towards maybe 9 at the very, very far end. But they are a much smaller piece of meat. But since it's bison, I mean, you are packing so much protein and lean protein in there. But since it's the fattier cut of the animal, You get all of that really, really juicy, kind of beefy, but more, it's bison, but more meaty flavor in there. And you get a little bit more fat, so when you cook it low and slow, it really is incredible. It's not the cheapest cut of meat, but it's definitely interesting and definitely something that you can do for a special occasion like Christmas. Now, as far as our cook, guys, we did pretty much the exact same thing we do for all of our briskets. I started it in the wee hours in the morning at 180 degrees, bumped up to 225 after a couple of hours, wrapped it when it hit the stall in some tallow, then cooked it at 250 until it probed tender. And you can tell we've got a really, really nice smoke ring along the sides. Everything is cooked great. I don't squeeze my meat because that's something you can do on your own time. And we're gonna really enjoy this tonight, guys. I have some homemade biscuits. We got some delicious coleslaw type salad. It's gonna be a really nice meal. Guys, let me know what you're cooking up this Christmas. And if you've ever cooked a brisket, let me know down below. Merry Christmas, guys. Happy holidays. And I'll catch you next time on the UFO Barbecue. Bye-bye.